Hello and very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha TV's flagship show, The Question Hour, where we get you the unstarred questions asked by the members in the upper house of Parliament during the 250th session. I'm Rajat Kain. I'm joined with my colleague Kriti Mishra. Kriti, so let's start with the show.
Absolutely, Rajat.
Well, first question was asked by the member Sushil Kumar Gupta from Ministry of Finance, and he sought to know whether the government has taken any measures to attract more investment in Jammu and Kashmir, and if so, what are the details thereunder?
Well, the government has given an elaborate reply to this question, and the government goes on to say that the measures taken by it to attract investments in Jammu and Kashmir are Prime Minister's development package of 2,241 crore announced on 7th of November 2015 for development of tourism, construction of government tourist assets in lieu of damaged or destroyed assets. Prime Minister's employment generation program through the Khadi and Village Industry Commission, the Khadi and Village Industry Boards and District Industry Centres or the DIC's office generates self-employment opportunities through establishment of micro-enterprises in the non-farm sector by helping traditional artisans and unemployed youth. Margin money subsidy of 25% of the project cost in rural areas and 15% in urban areas is provided for the general category beneficiaries, whereas for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, women, the margin money subsidy is 35% in the rural areas and 25% in the urban areas. The maximum cost of project is 25 lakh rupees in the manufacturing sector and 10 lakh rupees in the service sector. Credit-linked subsidy of 15% on institutional credit up to 1 crore for identified sectors, subsectors or technologies for upgrading technology by Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Credit Guarantee Scheme or CGS of Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises to strengthen credit delivery system and to facilitate the flow of credit to the MSME sector without the hassles of collateral or third-party guarantee, providing credit guarantee to the member lending institutions for loans up to 200 lakh rupees granted to MSE without collateral and third-party guarantee. And lastly, interest subvention scheme for incremental credit to MSMEs 2018 that was launched on 2nd of November 2018 for providing 2% interest subvention for all GST and UAM registered MSMEs, maximum up to 1 crore rupees on fresh or incremental loans. And moving on to the next question that has been asked by two members, Mr. Vaiko and also by Mr. T. Subbarami Reddy. And these members have posed this question to the Ministry of Finance, and these members have sought to know whether the government has set up a GST review committee to augment GST collection and to simplify the administration.
For replying to the query, the government said a committee of officers from centre and state has been constituted to suggest measures to augment GST collection and administration. The committee would consider a wide range of reforms looking into areas such as systematic changes in GST, including checks and balances to prevent misuse, measures to improve voluntary compliance, policy measures and relevant changes needed in law, measures for expansion of tax base, improved compliance monitoring and anti-evasion measures using better data analytics, better administrative coordination. The composition scheme with flat rate tax at the rate 1% is available for such small traders, handloom and powerloom weavers having aggregate annual turnover of less than 1.5 crore. With the implementation of disbursement of funds refund by single authority, the SGST part of the refund shall also be released by centre on behalf of states, and the transfer of cash from one head to another head of cash ledger will be implemented shortly, which will be hassle-free and convenient to the taxpayers. The next question was asked by member Santanu Sain from Ministry of Tourism, and he sought to know whether it's fact the share of rural tourism is less than 1% of the total tourism economy.
Well, the government says that the Ministry of Tourism launched the Swadesh Darshan scheme for integrated development of theme-based tourist circuits for development of tourism infrastructure, including last-mile connectivity in the country. Recognizing the potential of rural tourism in the country, the ministry has identified rural circuit as one of the thematic circuits identified for development under this scheme and is aimed at leveraging tourism as a force multiplier for revitalizing the rural economy and for giving both domestic as well as international tourists a glimpse of the rural aspect of the country. Now, the ministry has sanctioned following projects for development of rural circuits under the Swadesh Darshan scheme which are at different stages of implementations. Now, these are in two states, Bihar for the year 2017 and 18 and Kerala for the year 2018-19. The objectives of Swadesh Darshan scheme include creating employment opportunities for rural youth. And let's move on to the next question that has been asked by member A. Vijay Kumar, and this one is to the Ministry of Science and Technology. And Mr. Vijay Kumar has asked the government about the number of persons benefited under Women's Scientist scheme during the last 3 years.
Well, in the reply, the government said that in the last 3 years, 1,377 women scientists have benefited under three components of Women Scientists scheme. That is 932 in WOSA for research in basic and applied sciences, 123 in Women Scientist schemes, WOSB, S&T interventions for societal benefit, and 322 in WOSC for internship in intellectual property rights. There is no proposal to simplify the rules of recruitment of beneficiaries, as the rules of schemes are already simplified. The aspirants can apply through online portals without any cumbersome process, and all girl students of 27 years or more who have postgraduate or PhD or equivalent qualification in basic or applied sciences and have break in career are eligible to be considered in Women Scientist scheme. The girls not fulfilling eligibility criteria are not considered under the scheme. Moving on, the next question was asked by members Kumari Selja and P. Bhattacharya from Ministry of Power, and they sought to know from government if they are encouraging people to use electric vehicles instead of gasoline or diesel vehicles.
Well, a number of steps have been taken by the government to promote EVs and hybrid vehicles in the country, and the reply given by the government to this question is also very comprehensive. And the government goes on to say that it is providing incentives to the consumers for adoption of electric vehicles. Some of these incentives include faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles in India, which is phase 2 of FAME scheme, has been launched with a total fund allocation of 10,000 crore rupees during the year 2019, which will culminate in the year 2022 to incentivize EV adoption for shared mobility in India. Also, 1,000 crore rupees has been allocated for establishment of EV charging infrastructure. Incentives defined in the Union Budget 2019. Now, these include GST. The government has reduced the GST on EVs from 12% to 5%. Income tax rebate up to 1.5 lakh rupees on interest payable on loans to purchase EVs. Customs duty exemptions on parts exclusively used in EVs. Now, these include e-drive assembly, onboard charger, e-compressor and charging gun. And following actions have been taken to facilitate installation of charging infrastructure for electric vehicles. Now, these include no license requirement for charging of EVs. Ministry of Power on 13th of April 2018 has issued a clarification on charging infrastructure for EVs with reference to the provisions of the Electricity Act 2003. It has been clarified that during the activity of charging of battery for use in electric vehicles, the charging station does not perform any of the activities, namely transmission, distribution or trading of electricity, which requires a license under the provisions of the Act. Hence, the charging of batteries of electric vehicles through charging stations does not require any license under the provisions of the Electricity Act 2003. And for charging infrastructure for EVs, revised guidelines and standards. The Ministry of Power has notified charging infrastructure for electric vehicles, guidelines and standards on 14th of December 2018, which was subsequently revised based on the suggestions received from various stakeholders and was notified on 1st of October 2019. And the last question in this edition of Question Hour is from member CM Ramesh, and this one also pertains to the Ministry of Power. And the member has sought to know how many gas-based high-capacity power plants are there in different states of India.
Well, answering the query, the government said that as per the information available in Central Electricity Authority, that is CEA, 43 numbers, about 18,279 megawatts of gas-based power plants in country have generated during the year 2019 and 20, and that is between the months of April to September 2019. Now, at present, country's deficit in availability of domestic gas for power sector. Now, during the year 2019-20, April to September 2019, average domestic gas supply to power plants is around 19.77 million metric standard cubic meters per day against the allocation of 86.65 million metric standard cubic meters per day. Some liquefied natural gas is being imported by gas-based power plants due to shortage of domestic gas and as per requirements of the state. Domestic gas is being allocated to all sectors, including power sector, as per the gas utilization policy of the government and availability of gas. The domestic gas supply to power sector is higher than other sectors, including fertilizer sector, and balanced requirement of natural gas of different sector is met by imported regasified liquefied natural gas, that is RLNG, which is under open general license. Power plants may also source RLNG as per their requirement accordingly.
So that's all Rajat and I had for you in this edition of Question Hour. But on the other side, we'll have Prashn Kal in Hindi with our colleagues Arvind Singh and Kriti Singh. Please stay with Rajya Sabha Television.
Thanks for watching this video.